लिखितास कपिस बसे गिरि चार महाप्रभु पंथ निहारो चौकी महामुनि साप दियो तब चाहिए कौन विचार विचारो बीज रूप लिवाय महाप्रभु सो तुम दास के शोक निवारो को नहीं जानत है जग में कभी संकट मोचन नाम तिहारो को नहीं जानत अंगद के संग लेन गए सिया भोज कपि सय बैन उचारो जीवत न बची हो हम सोजु बिना सुधि लाए यहाँ पगुधारो तपे तट सिंधु समय तब लाय सिया सुधि प्राण उबारो तो नहीं जानत है जग में कभी संकट मोचन नाम तिहारो त्रास दई सिय को सब राक्षसी शोक ही शोक निवारो ताहि समय हनुमान महाप्रभु जाय महाराज नीचर मारो चाहत सिय अशोक सो आगे सुदय प्रभु मुद्रिका शोक निवारो नहीं जानत है जग में कभी संकट मोचन नाम तिहारो बाण लगो उर लक्ष्मण के तब प्राण तजे सुत रावण मारो वैद्य सुषेण समेत तब गिरिद्रोण सुबीर उपारो आनि सजीवन घात दई तब लक्ष्मण के तुम प्राण उबारो तो नहीं जानत है जग में कभी संकट मोचन नाम तिहारो युद्ध अजान कियो तब नाग के पास सब सिर डारो श्री रघुनाथ समेत सब दल मोह भयो यह संकट हारो आनी खगेश तब हनुमान जो बंधन काटी सूत्रास निवारो तो नहीं जानत है जग में कभी संकट मोचन नाम तिहारो बंधु समेत जवै अहि रावण लय रघुनाथ पताल सिधारो देवी ही पूजी भली विधि सो बलि देव सबै मिली मंत्र विचारो जाय सहाय भयो तब ही अहि रावण सैन्य समेत संगारो तो नहीं जानत है जग में कभी संकट मोचन नाम तिहारो किए बड़ देवन के तुम वीर महाप्रभु देखी विचारो कौन सो संकट मोर गरीब को जो तुम सो नहीं जात है तारो बेगी हरो हनुमान महाप्रभु जो कुछ संकट होय हमारो को नहीं जानत है जग में कभी संकट देह लालील से अरुधरि लाल लंगूर वज्र देह दानव दलन जय 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 कपीसूर सियावर रामचंद्र की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय उमापति महादेव की जय बोलो भाई सब संतन की जय श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की। Now our Hanumanji our Hanumanji is Ojasvi, Tejasvi, Yashasvi. He is full of vitality, vigor, brilliance, ever successful. Bhari Udan to such a flight. Sagar Par. In one flight, he just crossed the ocean like only a puddle of water, a puddle that is made by Gokhur, at the foot of a cow. How much that big will be? He crossed that. Rakshas Hanan, Lanka Dhan, Sita Shoka Nivaran. रामायण महारत्न को है कोटि कोटि नित वंदन. Millions times we only do namaskar. Ramayana Mahamana Ratnam Vande Anilatmajam. ओजस्वी तेजस्वी यशस्वी हनुमान हरि उड़ान सागर पार गोपुर के समान. हरि उड़ान सागर पार गोपुर के समान. ओजस्वी तेजस्वी यशस्वी हनुमान ओजस्वी तेजस्वी यशस्वी हनुमान हरि उड़ान सागर पार गोपुर के समान. हरि उड़ान सागर पार गोपुर के समान. राक्षस हन लंका दहन. राक्षस हन लंका दहन सीता शोक निवारण. राक्षस हन लंका दहन सीता शोक निवारण. रामायण महारत्न को है कोटि कोटि नित वंदन. रामायण महारत्न को है कोटि कोटि नित वंदन. ओजस्वी तेजस्वी यशस्वी हनुमान ओजस्वी तेजस्वी यशस्वी हनुमान हरि उड़ान सागर पार गोपुर के समान. हरि उड़ान सागर पार वंदन रामायण महारत कोटि कोटि नित वंदन कोटि कोटि नित वंदन कोटि कोटि नित वंदन. Is Hanumanji on one hand said Ojasvi Tejasvi here, but otherwise wherever Bhagavan Ramchand's katha goes, he just sits, tears in his eyes, with folded hand, Veer, Shur, and so gambhir, so soft. The Sanskrit shloka says, Yatra yatra Raghunath Kirtanam, Tatra Tatra Krutamastakāñjali. I translated that into Hindi. That will sing soft. Both aspects of Hanumanji, you see. Jaha Jaha Raghunath Sankirtan Jaha Jaha Raghunath Sankirtan Vahi Virage Marutanandan Vahi Virage Marutanandan Kar Pranam Ashru Bhare Lochan Kar Pranam Ashru Bhare Lochan Dhanya Pavan Sut Sankat Mochan Dhanya Pavan Sut Sankat Mochan Jaha Jaha Raghunath Sankirtan Vahi Viraje Marut Nandan Kar Pranam Ashru Bhare Lochan Dhanya Pavan Sut Sankat Mochan Dhanya Pavan Sut Sankat Mochan Dhanya Pavan Sut Sankat Mochan.
Hari Om, everyone. Can you all hear me and see me clearly? Awesome. If you all can turn your videos on. Brahmachari Hari, if you can take care of the reception of everyone and welcoming them with Purna Kumbha when they are waiting in the waiting room. Hope and pray that everybody is doing well. And I also hope that now that many of you are in that age group wherein you should have been jabbed, or the scientific word would be inoculated. Is there anybody here who is yet to be vaccinated? Please make sure that you are vaccinated. Hope and pray that your families here as well as back in India, especially with the raging stories that we hear across, is quite a scary story. And sitting here, it creates a level of anxiety and fear. Mostly it is the helplessness that eats us away. In such situations, the best that we can do is first stabilize ourselves, and that can happen only through prayer, with a prayerful attitude. Then reach out 10, 15 per day. Reach out to your friends and family, text them, call them, chat with them, and fill that stability in their lives, fill that sense of hope and positivity in their lives. And if somebody is in some kind of misery, some kind of pain, some kind of agony, anxiety, allow them to share it with you. Let them voice it out. If not now, when else and how else are we going to reach out to our family, friends, known ones, dear ones, loved ones? Yes, our life is important and it will continue. But along with that, it is also our responsibility to care for. And that is the greatest seva that we can do. And it will pull us out of our own helplessness. And in today's world, in the present condition of how we are, we need more of these energetic, positive, those who have can hit a balance themselves and take that balance across to several around us. Such pockets of hope is what we have to become. And there is, in the Hindustani music, there is something called Jugalbandi. Jugalbandi is two streams, whether it is instrument or vocal or Hindustani and Carnatic. It's almost like a sense of competition. When you get across somebody is in misery and then you compare your notes of misery and then whine and complain and spend more tears, that will only be contagious. But we need the jugalbandi of a kind wherein you don't slip to become their kind, but you uplift them, and that can be possible only when we have stabilized ourselves. And the effort in the last 1.5 years has been to reach out to as many people across as possible through various platforms of satsang, bhajans, pujas, chantings, camps, online camps. I couldn't have imagined online camps 1 year ago. But we pulled it just to put that amount of faith and hopefulness in everyone's heart. And when I think of who can be those warriors, I think of you all as the first and foremost that I can depend upon, wherein you can hit that level of stability and provide that, rejuvenate yourself and provide that for others. Hope and pray that you can be those warriors, Chinmaya warriors, the Ramadutas. Gurudev, when we were chicks, used to call us as the detailed varieties. We don't have tails, but we are the Ramadutas, the monkeys running around trying to do Ram Seva. And this is the best Rama Seva that we can do at this point. So let's fill that cheer across and let's take that hope across. Let's fill that void where people need that sensible heart that can unjudgedly, without any kind of barriers, open up, speak their heart out, and feel the sense of relief. And while we are at it, if any one of you has to reach out, you're all connected to me, you know my number. Please do not hesitate to reach out. I am just a phone call away. Okay, so don't hesitate. Just text me, but text me before so that I can arrange my timing so that I can be available and talk to you all anytime. Clear? I'm not what you call yet, touch wood. I don't feel the fatigue yet of this 1.5 years into it. I probably, through CMDFW must have, given a good spirit from Gurudev that we started off very early with the screen spaces, yet to find that fatigue. Thankfully, God's blessings. So I don't mind meeting you on the Zoom one-on-one if needed. But let's lift up the spirit. That is the best that we can do. Having said that, let us get into our self-unfoldment. After we chant 3 Oms, Sahana Bhavatu Guru Brahma, we are in the 2nd chapter, and the 2nd chapter is beautifully named Happiness. Let's see. Let's get to that. ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Now before I get into the 2nd chapter, I used to be questioned by many that why do you extend your Oms that long in the beginning that we can yawn and we can almost fall asleep, and Swami, that is why I come 5 minutes late. By the time you are done with your prayers, then I can come and join. And I said, if I am the thesis, you are the antithesis. The reason why that Om has to be extended and the way it is chanted, especially beginning of the class, is because we come from varied activities that we are engaged in, busily engaged in. So the mind is having a lot of hang-ups with several things. It is scattered in all across the place. With this kind of Om chanting, wherein we are inhaling, and then with that length, maintaining a slow, steady Om, as long as we can hold our breath, what happens? All that hang-ups, our mind snaps out of it, because breath is regularized and we are replacing the thoughts with Om. All that other thoughts, all the other emotions, we snap, we cut it. Now that mind space becomes available so that whatever we are studying, whatever we are going to go through, it is available to soak in. And then, of course, we are reminding ourselves of the attitude with which we begin. Sahanavavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryangkaravavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu. What is the purpose of this gathering here? Definitely, this is not a a book club when we casually sit and sip and go over a book. No, that is not the attitude. What is the purpose then? That has to be clear. The purpose is tejasvinavadhi tamastu, that in my buddhi, dhi, may it sharpen and shine forth with clarity, because clarity is the most essential, vital thing to bring in a firm conviction. Without that conviction, it will be fogged up, it will be hazy, it will not be clear. Then we will start feeling burnt out, we'll start feeling mechanical, we'll start feeling bored with our own lives. It's not like I'm bored with your life, I'm bored with her life or his life. I'm bored with my own life. I mean, if my backyard garden is what I go develop, and then I look at it and say, nah, man, it looks quite pathetic. Who is to be blamed? Go stand in front of that mirror and slap yourself hard twice. Other than you who is developing that garden, no one else. Your life is your own garden. And in that garden, how can you very clearly lay it out and walk it in a very firm way when that clarity exists? Tejasvinavadhi tamastu. For that, what do we have to do? Therefore, even the study group, the way I have designed it, I find it still cumbersome and very new, and this is a completely new format that I'm trying. But still, the effort is that it is more of a dialogue. That you first listen, then mull over it, churn, and then you ask your questions. Then there are these set of questions that you prepare. At this time, I'll promise that it will be sooner than Thursday that the questions will come to you. Yes, definitely. So you get those questions, you go over those questions, try to read through, find the answers, come. So that, what is it that we are trying to achieve? That sense of clarity which will guide our convictions. And therefore, for this light of knowledge, this light of clarity to be lit within us, it is not just this particular environment. For those ages of Rishi Parampara that has spent their entire lives to keep this valuable knowledge alive and to reach across to you all, in spite of oppressive environments, especially in the last 1,000-odd years, where the Islamic fundamentalists, the Christian fundamentalists, they've completely ruined the culture, the temples, the traditions, and yet they kept it alive and passed it along. Therefore, when we say Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam, to that entire Guru Parampara, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, that we offer our salutations to that entire parampara who has kept this alive, so that we can connect with it, connect with our roots. Because without root, there is no flourishing up. The deeper the root, the higher is the plant that can grow. And those plants which grow without deeper roots, a simple gentle wind and it will topple. Many of us see that people climb up highest onto the ladder of fame, success, accomplishments, but without those roots, they can be toppled off just like that. A gentle breeze of life and put it done. But that root which is deep, the deeper we can dwell, go connect with that, the higher is the possibilities. Yes, the pop culture says, I believe I can touch the sky. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. Only when you are deep within connected to those roots. And this is to connect so that we can grow high. So we prepare our mind, invoke and connect to that purpose, and then seek the blessings so that this study becomes clearer in understanding ourselves. That is the effort. Having said that, now I'll come to the main topic. Because still we are laying the foundation of this particular group as we are evolving. Just the first chapter has been done. So I thought, let me clear that as well and put that in place so that when we start, you know the intention why we start, and the intensity can only be intensified. So this chapter is going to dwell about the most abstract, non-definable. It's a mammoth task. And somebody takes the topic of happiness. Where were we in the last chapter? We talked about freedom. We do not want any kind of constrained environment, oppressive environment. We revolt against it. We reject it, revolt it, react to it. Why do we care for that freedom? It reminds me of that the Joker character in the Christopher Nolan's script, where he's in the hospital and he makes a confession there. He says, I am like that mad dog which is chasing the ambulance, not knowing what I will do if I do catch one. When you drive through, sometimes these dogs in the streets, they run up trying to chase that vehicle, or if you turn around and you can talk to them in their dog language and said, yo, guy, what are you chasing? What do you want? He would probably shrug and say, I also don't know. So why do we care for this freedom? Why are we chasing it? Why do we want it? Why do we demand it? So the connector is that this sense of freedom that we want, and here he mentions in the very last paragraph, he almost mentions, he says, he meaning Puja Gurudev, Swami Chinmayananji in this book, Self Unfoldment, he says that including the constraints that we have to overcome, which is my own body, mind and intellect, BMI. You see the chart behind me, right? So the BMI, meaning body, mind and intellect, to overcome that also is a limitation. That is only an equipment, that is only an instrument. Presently, we behave as though we are that instrument. Including that constraint, I want to get rid of, grow out of any kind of those constraints. Why? Because only when I am free, I can apply myself for that which I am seeking. When I am bound, I cannot find that. So what am I seeking? So when we say that our Sanatana Dharma is universal, it is wrongly interpreted when we jump in and say universal because it will accept everything and anything as possibility. No. Universal because it is that principle driven, that it is applicable everywhere. That change, that shift has to be noted. It's a very subtle one. Therefore, I wouldn't even call it as a religion. I call it as dharma. That which binds everything together in a cohesive shape so that it can be uplifted for the highest. I won't even say higher, highest. So this freedom that I'm seeking, why do I need it? The clarity of our Upanishads, clarity of our Bhagavad Gita is not to build another layer of constraint, another layer of construct saying that this is where you will be bound again in. Is it the highest, that which we are all seeking? Irrespective of where you are growing, irrespective of what caste, creed, religion, gender, identities that you are in, we are all seeking one thing for sure. When you stop somebody going busy and said, why are you working? I want to be happy, man. Why are you partying? I want to be happy, man. I mean, whatever we do, what is it that is driving us? I want to be happy. Across the borders, across the entire length and breadth of this globe, wherever there is, and it is not just limited to a human being. Every living creature is seeking only that. Don't ask me why I was in Minneapolis at that time. It was in February. And outside for 3 days, it was minus 40. And with the wind chills, it was lower than that. And one day, the sun came out and it suddenly was like around 30s. People were wearing shorts and saying, oh, today is so warm, and going out. That is one definition and I will never ever get it. I was sitting cozily in the glassed area with the blinds up and the sun coming in, and the warmth there was sufficient for me. I didn't feel like stepping out. As we lifted all these blinds and allowed that sun to come in, as I was sitting inside studying, there was this dog in their house that was sitting in its own corner. Suddenly it moved and came where exactly the light was falling, shining, and nicely turned upside down and was basking, having sunbathe. Why did it shift from that place to this place? Because it also is seeking something more comfortable than where it is. Every living creature. Therefore, when we pray, the universality of the prayer is also what? We don't ever come across saying that only Hindus should be happy. Only those who believe in Hindu tenets will be happy. No, that is never the constraint. What do we say when we say a prayer? Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Sarve means what? Every living organism. Look at the magnanimity. The rishis didn't say that only those who believe in, therefore you be happy. They said, even if you don't believe, please be happy. What a magnanimous approach. So what is it that we are seeking? Happiness. But then, in our seeking this happiness, we will come into this clarity, but many of us feel trapped in one particular layer. And what is that? One is called, in technical terms, in the Upanishadic language, it is called dukkha nivritti. Removal of sorrow. Why? I don't find that as my natural state. As soon as I find some misery, some sorrow, some kind of a pain, I want to find solution to get rid of it. And the moment that is taken away, what we come to a wrong conclusion is that is called happiness. No, that is not called happiness. Removal of sorrow, removal of pain, removal of misery is called relief. With our Yuva Kendra members, no, I think it was Balavihar members. We were the entire 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, when we had those sessions. So all of those we joined in and we went across, and there was this tradition that we watched the entire Harry Potter movies together. Just so that there is a binding time with everyone. There is that camaraderie that can be built in. We called it lock-in. We still call it, but now that we are locked in our own spaces, that is not being a possibility. So one of those where there is, Harry Potter gets in with face to face with those dragons. That particular episode in the series. You get it, right? Huh. So if you remember that particular series, it starts with like in a bang. Like the note where it starts is really a high intense note. And we had just finished dinner and everything and gotten into the movie. I had to use the restroom. So I said, you know what? Let this intensity lull down a little. Then I will quickly run in and come back. I wouldn't miss much. And the director did an awesome job there. From that epic beginning, it only increases the intensity. And it is further increasing. As that intensity is increasing, my pressure is also increasing. And there came a point wherein I had to decide either this or that. And finally I said, enough is enough. I got up, ran in. I feel that, when you have a camera of those who are going into the restrooms and those who are coming out from the restrooms, and compare both of those cameras, those photographs. Like, how you are photographed when you're taking the roller coaster? Nobody likes it. Why? We are in such a scared kind of a situation that we don't want to look at it again. So when you compare it, how do you feel when this fellow is tense when he's going in? When they're coming out, what do you see on their face? That is not called sukha. That is not called happiness. What is it called? It is called relief. Dukkha nivritti. Comprende? See? Good. If this is dukkha nivritti, then what is sukha then? What is that happiness then? That is the research which has been the central point of focus. Whether it is at an individual level, whether it is at a community level, whether it is at a global level efforts, all the sense of improvements that we have done as humanity in the last, say, about 200 years. Science, scientific changes, scientific improvements, all of that, if looked in this particular perspective, it can be put under one particular category. They have worked collectively, thanks to them, they have worked collectively in finding methods to relieve humanity of these several kinds of pains, sorrows, miseries, discomforts, and put them in a place where it can feel a better position, a comfortable position. Whether it is a ecologist, a politician, economist, scientists, all of them, what have they been? They're working at relieving the mass of humanity from their sets of, sets and subsets of pain, sorrow, misery, and discomfort to a comfortable place. That is when discoveries, that is when so many new things were invented. It was only recently that I came across, meaning in the last decade or so, that lighter was invented first and then came the matchstick. My jaw dropped. I said, whoa. I thought that the lighter would have been more complicated and this would have been easy, but it is the other way around. All these inventions, all these new things that we have taken for granted, there was a time when I know for sure there was definitely a time when there were no cell phones, there were no pagers, there were no laptops, there was nothing of this kind of communication. Talk to your parents. If they had to call back to India after having reached here, they had to wait 1 month time and consolidate their money, and they would get 3 minutes of a booked call, and it would be like, those calls are funny. If you look at even the old movies, hello, and by the time you say 10 times hello and introduce yourself and they introduce yourself and then 10 times hello, the time is already up. Aap achhe ho, you are fine. Hum achhe hain, we are fine. Done, call is done. Today we can comfortably sit and what we are doing exactly right now. Right, all this is slowly we have evolved to this position. So the efforts have been incessantly put. But the question is, yes, to a large extent, dukkha nivritti has been answered by these great thinkers. How many ever times you may say, thankfully, a thanks to them would not be sufficient because they have spent that much amount of time, energy, resource in bringing this to reality. But still, that elusive part, are we happy yet? Ask anyone. They'll say, sometimes there, sometimes not. I said, consolidate your entire life and experiences so far and give me in percentages, how much percentage of happiness and how much percentage of... usually, as you age, it comes down to an average of 50-50, Swamiji. 50-50. The promise of the scripture is it is 100%. The promise of the scripture is not that, this happiness is a long road. So therefore, it is not about reaching there, but it is about the journey. Happiness is not about the destination, but it is about the journey. Blah, 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 blee, blee, blue, 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 blue. No. Scripture is very clear. It is a definite experience that you can bask in. And that's the promise of the scriptures. That's the promise that Bhagwan Krishna makes. Where? In Bhagavad Gita. Acha Swami ji, Bhagwan ne aapko bataya? Bhagwan came and told you that? No, that was in Bhagavad Gita, and that is what I am referring to as the promise made by Bhagwan Krishna. So immediately, there are many, great thinkers. They said, when you closely observe yourself, maybe happiness is a state of mind. And let me state this disclaimer right here before it becomes a slew of questions on this particular one. This is introducing the topic of happiness. Therefore, Gurudev puts this dialogue into this conversation, not to say that this is the the clear cut best definition of happiness. Many of us think that this is how it is, that it is a state of mind. Why do they make that statement? There is a nice argument to it. The argument is that when you look at your own mind, when it is agitated, I am more miserable, I am suffering. When the mind is calm, when the mind is peaceful and you are awake, that's a key part. When you're awake and your mind is calm, you find a sense of peace and joy within. So it's very easy to jump to the conclusion that it is a state of mind. When it is not agitated, I am in that state of peace and joy is a possibility. When it is agitated, it is impossible to be happy. Can you ever make this statement? My mind is agitated, but I am chill, I am cool, I am happy. It contradicts itself. So they say, maybe it is, And then there are seekers, there are intense people that further did research on it. So the happiness, when you look at it, all these agitations, most of the agitations, okay, when I say all, most of them, because I have to be very, very careful when I generalize things. So most of it is because I have these churning of desires that keep erupting. And when it gets fulfilled, my mind seems to enjoy that moment of joy as soon as the desire is, it comes to the sense of fruition. And that fruit of it is something that I can cherish. So how do we design our lives now? Run after those desires. So how do we evaluate when we ask each other, right? At the end of the day, so Swamiji, how was your day? I really don't know how to answer it. And there are answers that I have heard. I've had worse. It was it was okay. I'm yet to see a person who can consistently say it was awesome. My day, it was rocking. It was fabulous, beautiful, amazing. Consistently. Why do we fail to find that consistency? Is because this happiness equation that Gurudev points at here is a very beautiful equation. Again, it is not the ultimate definition here, but how many of us have come to a point to declare that it is a state of mind, and we are analyzing why it can be, and later we will see in next chapters why it is not, because it is much deeper than that. But at least for now, let's discuss this, that we have these number of desires fulfilled by divided by the number of desires entertained by us. Now there equals happiness. Number of desires fulfilled is the numerator, and what is the denominator? The number of desires entertained. That equals happiness. There are two ways you can look at it where happiness is maximum, meaning the result of it, the happiness should be greater. when I have vast number of desires fulfilled. When the numerator is high, meaning the desires fulfilled is high. That is why, how do we plan and chalk out our entire day? All those things which I like, all those things that I'm comfortable with, all those things that I love to cherish, I plan them according to that. My favorite cup of tea or coffee in the morning, then my favorite route, then my best seat, best music, best friends to hang out with, best food to. I align my day. The number of desires fulfilled. Then you, at the end of the day, when someone asks, how was your day? Then we can say, yeah, most of it was pretty good aligned. All that things which I like, all that things that I love, they were nicely aligned. And at the end of the day, the bottom line, the number of desires fulfilled were pretty good. So my day was good. Now they said, wait a second. There can be a second method too. And what is it? Yes, the first method we all are very familiar with. The second method is, how about reducing the denominator itself, the root cause itself? Is it a possibility? Definitely it is a possibility. Is it as easy as the numerator? Nah, it ain't gonna be that easy. But what is that? Reducing the denominator, reducing the number of desires entertained. And one good factor that many philosophers have mentioned, which the Vedic tradition also agrees with, is understand the difference between what is a need and what is a want. That's a good barrier check. If it is not a need, then I don't want. What is the difference between a need and a want? Need is something that I can not live without. But a want is something that is a luxury factor that I can still survive without it. A very rudimentary definition to it, but very powerful one. I'm sure your parents have talked about this enough number of times while you were growing up. I see, the third grader was talking to his parents, and this is when we were meeting face to face in a brick and mortar kind of environment. The third grader is making all those faces and puppy face and fake tears and standing in front of that mommy and say, "Mommy, everybody in my class has an iPhone 11." A third grader, why do you need it is like 3 times the size of your palm. Why would you need an iPhone 11? So I went into that class just to inquire. कौन था भाई, किसके हाथ में था? That fellow is not owning. And how many people were there? There was only one kid. For that one day that parents wanted to communicate, they left their phone with him, and that fellow must have shown it off. And this fellow comes to the parents and says, everybody in my class has an iPhone. iPhone 11. And that was very particular. Not iPhone 5S, iPhone 11. I also want one. Whenever we went with such, what did the parents tell us? They sat us down and lectured us. The similar kind of thing. What is a need? What is a want? Why should you be satisfied with little? Why should life be simple? And the entire 9 yards. What is the 9 yards? When I was growing up, remember those dialogues? When I was growing up, we grew up 7 brothers, 3 sisters in a small 10 by 10 room, and that was our bedroom, that was our dining room, that was our makeup room, that was our everything. We didn't have electricity, we didn't have. We had to go in a rush hour, we had to carry buses, and we were young, but we were public transport, and that's the whole 9 yard. I mean, I can go on, okay? And you would say that, Swamiji, did you ever listen to my parents? No. All parents, I thought it was only Indian. It cuts across the barriers. I've heard this same kind, similar kind, several different kinds of, backgrounds. It's the same logic. The need and the want, but it is a very, very crucial one. And the one who is intelligent enough to invoke that, the difference between a need and a want, can understand and reach to that quieter state of mind, a pleasanter, peaceful state of mind. So, what is happiness? It is desire management technique. Is it a worthy enough desire to entertain? Is it a need? Is it a want? Do I need to really pursue it because it is erupting? I don't need to jump across and try fulfilling it because it has erupted. I need to apply my intelligence to evaluate, to understand. Is it necessary? Is it not necessary? But then again, from your side, I went through the 9 yards of your parents. Now your side, 9 yards, your age group or a younger age group. You never understand us. There is a generation gap. What you grew up, the environment is different. What we are growing up is different. You never understand what we want. This is not a want, it is a need, it is a requirement, it is an essential now. There's a generation gap discussions. I mean, it starts as a discussion and it ends in all kinds of ways. Remember, not long ago, you must have had these kinds of discussions with your padre, madre, mummy, papa. You must have had these dialogues. And some must be laughing, saying, not long ago, Swamiji, even yesterday we had the same kind of dialogue. But when you look at the root cause of it, I have this desire, I want the freedom to fulfill it, so that fulfilling it is happiness. The rishis say there is a better way of management. Put a filter. And what is a filter? Only that which is a need. Now I'll give you a beautiful statement before I wind up. In Bhagavad Gita, I think I mentioned it in question answers also, but I'll repeat it. In Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, Bhagavan says, Hey Arjuna, in 7th chapter, he's talking about all different beautiful aspects of this creation where you can immediately, he is all pervading, but he can immediately be identified with ease. That Bhagavan, that Paramatma can be identified, recognized. and you stand in awe when you recognize. And he narrates all these beautiful aspects. There, suddenly he introduces, he says, Arjuna, this is Bhagavan Krishna saying to Arjuna, Arjuna, I am also the desire in your heart. Kamosmi Bharatarshabha. I am the Kama in your heart. I mean, there are places where we can quote from the same Bhagavad Gita saying, Etatrayam Narakadwaram. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, these three are the direct pathways to hell, Naraka. Oops, H word. Yeah, Naraka, you reach there. Then what is he saying? That Kama also is the desire in your heart is also, Bhagwan's expression. He puts a caveat there. He puts a clause there. He says, what kind of desire? Dharma aviruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshabha. That which prompts you to walk the path of dharma, closer to dharma, living in dharma, applying in dharma, uplifting dharma, all these clauses of dharma, in such desires, I express verily in your own heart. That inspired moment to fine tune one's own mind, the inner equipment towards dharma, is the very expression of Bhagavan. Therefore, when we are inspired in those moments where we are connected to the very root of that dharma, the satisfaction is also that rewarding. You don't even have to wait for the result of the action. Just by fulfilling that particular act, you feel very, very satisfied. Supposing you were in a mall or a coffee shop or something, and somebody who is in front of you, their wallet fell down. And immediately jumped in, called their attention and picked it up and gave it to them. Then there was no agenda in your mind that, somebody secretly must be recording this and they post it somewhere and I become the next viral thing. No, we don't want to be virus. Next hip and happening thing. No, there was no agenda there. But in that act of following that which is dharma, that which is right, and that person said thanks and left. But that fulfillment you feel, that satisfaction you feel, is a MasterCard. Priceless, I mean. Isn't it? Dharma aviruddho bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshabha. So the rishis picked the reduction to a point of nullifying the denominator rather than the numerator, to be increased. Now, once the denominator is decreased, what will happen to the numerator? That will also eventually limit n tending to 0. But one question that I will end it with: is it ever possible to live a life wherein mind does not have desires? It's not your question for me. So don't turn around next week and put that question in there and say, Swamiji, last time you were saying that is actually my question. Can you please answer? That will be definitely one of the questions that I will ask you. Ho gaya na? Okay, we'll wind up. This discussion on happiness. And do you guys need me to post the link for this YouTube, which is uploaded for you to listen to, or you can find it? Do you want me to post it? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, in the group I'll post it. That way it is consolidated in one place and you know where to look for. Good. Krishna Priya, can you please chant Hanuman Chalisa, because tomorrow happens to be Hanuman Jayanti. And can you do a little peppy fast beat?
Sure, Swamiji. Okay.
Because we are short of time. I love your slow ones, but just because we are short of time.
Sure. Shri Guru Charana Saroj Raj Nij Mana Mukur Sudhari Varno Raghuvar Vimal Jasa जोदायक फल चारी बुद्धिहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरो पवन कुमार बल बुद्धि विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेश विकार जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपीश तिहु लोक उजागर रामदूत तुलित बल धामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कंचन वर्ण विराज सुवेश कानन कुंडल कुंचित केश हाथ वज्रोध्वजा विराजे कांधे मूंज जनेऊ साजे शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिबे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिबे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा बिकट रूप धरि लंक जरावा भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज सवारे लाय संजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर्षि उर लाए रघुपति कीन्ही बहुत बढ़ाई तुम मम प्रिय भरतहि सम भाई सास बदन तुम रोज सगावे अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीषा नारद सारद सहित हीसा यम कुबेर दिगपाल जहाते कवि कोविद कहि सके कहाते तुम उपकार सुग्रीवहि कीन्हा राम मिलाय राजपद दीन्हा तुमरो मंत्र विभीषण माना लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना युग सहस्र योजन पर भानु लीन्यो ताहि मधुर फल जानो प्रभु मुद्रिका में निमुख माहि जलधि रांगी गए अचर जनाहि दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हारे तेते राम दुआरे तुम रखवारे होतन आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे सब सुख रहे तुम्हारी शरणा तुम रक्षक काहू को डरना आपन तेज सम्हारो आपै तीनों लोक हांकते कांपै भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे महावीर जब नाम सुनावे नासे रोग हरे सब पीरा जपत निरंतर हनुमत मीरा संकट ते हनुमान छुड़ावे मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे सब पर राम तपस्वी राजा तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे सोई अमित जीवन फल पावे चारों युग परताप तुम्हारा है पर सिंधु जगत उजियारा साधु संत के तुम रखवारे असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे अष्ट सिद्धि नव निधि के दाता असबर दीन जानकी माता राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा सदा रहो रघुपति के दासा तुमरे भजन राम को पावै, जन्म जन्म के दुख बिसरावै। अंत काल रघुवर पुर जाई, जहाँ जन्म हरि भक्त कहाई। और देवता चित्तन धरई, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई। संकट कटे मिटे सब पीरा, जो सुमिरे हनुमत बलबीरा। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाई। जो शत बार पाठ कर कोई, छूटहि बंदी महासुख होई। जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा, होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीसा। तुलसीदास सदा हरिचेरा, की जय नाथ हृदय महडेरा। पवन तनय संकट हरना, मंगल मूर्ति रूप। राम लखन सीता सहित, हृदय बसहु सुर भूप। सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। उमापति महादेव की जय, बोलो भाई सब संतन की जय। श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय।
Thank you for all those several people that are going through facing this pandemic and going through personal losses, personal anxieties. Please think of all of them when we chant 3 times Mahamrityunjay mantra, and please chant every day, thinking of all of them for their welfare, for their well-being. Of course, for yourself, you will anyway be benefiting, but for others' sake as well. So please join me for the 3 times. ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात्। ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मा अमृतङ्गमय। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ। Thank you everyone. Please post your questions by Wednesday or Thursday evening by 9 o'clock. Please make sure that your questions are in so that I can consolidate them and put them across in a grouped version on Sunday for all of you. Okay. Is there anybody here who is not a part of that group? Okay. So if not, please reach out to me. I'll put you in that group. So stay safe and happy Hanuman Jayanti. May he bless us to be the courageous warriors that I was talking about in the beginning. Okay. Hari Om.